What's up, Juventini? Welcome back to the AJC, your channel dedicated to Juventus, and we've got a victory show, all right? 1-0 victory. Hey, old habits die hard, eh? Corto Muso, baby. 1-0 victory over Cagliari. It was critical to get the victory, and again, a tale of two halves for Juventus. But we're going to cover it all, and we've got a bunch in the news to talk about and a bunch in the aftermath, and can Juve change the narrative? It is like a seesaw we're on right now. It's just up and down, like fans are talking Scudetto again. Pump the brakes. But we're going to go through all of this together and have a lot of fun, all right? Of course, I got Omer with me. Omer, brother, good day. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Victory show. What's it like? Like fourth in a row in the league,
Yeah.
at least. Yeah, nice. Starting to develop the habit. Maybe I'm addicted.
Well, I think we found
Uh,
the rhythm. Maybe skip the pregame with Omer and get Omer on the post matches so we can do it. And now our friend Massimo from the AJC Army joining, making his debut. Look at that, getting love from Adam Khan there. And of course, Justin B. Mas, how's the going, brother? And welcome.
Thank you. I'm like Omer said, it's a win, right? It wasn't pretty by any means, but a win is a win at the end of the day. So there's not much we can take from it, I don't think, but
You know what my
it's a
buddy
happy day.
said? My buddy actually he made me laugh. He said it was like my single days when sometimes you had to jump on a grenade. It's like, yeah, you scored, but wasn't pretty. It wasn't the best, but you did score. So that's kind of what this win felt like. But we do have, I think, some positives to take out of it. But before we get through this, Mas, we got a little tradition around here that when newcomers come in, we get their debut shows, etc. We need to find out how they became Juventini. So what is your story? How did you become a Juventino, my friend?
Yeah, I sometimes joke that I'm the one of the elder statesmen in the chat, right? Because I have been a Juve fan for a very very long time. It's probably we're looking at like late '80s. I'd say I started following them. It was basically because of my uncle. My uncle was a big Juve fan, so every time I would go over to his place, there'd be magazines lying around of older players and I guess every time I go there, I just open them up and kind of be enthralled by what I was seeing. So from there, we started watching games together, and the love just kind of grew and grew and grew from there. So it was pretty much passed down from my uncle, to be honest. Sadly,
There
he
you
passed
go.
away. He passed away in 2000, but he left me with a true love in my life. So
Well, there you
that
go.
would
There
be
you
it.
go. Nice homage to your uncle there and bringing you into the good side, the right side,
For sure.
Juve. So there we go. There we go. Now, everybody in the army, what's up, chat? All right, great to see you all in here. We've got a ton to tackle. We are going to go through some news headlines first, just to fill everybody in. I'm going to save some for after the match talk as well. But Cambiaso apparently is okay. So concerns there about pubic overload. I immediately had the cure for that one. I mean, I think we've all suffered from that one, but I said, just get married, man. And that pubic overload will just go right away, okay? If you know, you know. Now, Savona, 15 days with injury for him coming up. And he had his groin issue on top of that with like this hernia. So, yeah, I mean, we talked about this in the green room. And Mas, you're thinking is
Shut
end
him
it,
down.
shut him
End
down.
it. Yeah. I mean, we really can't rely on him 100% when he's healthy. He's a relatively newer player, right? He's a younger player. If you're putting him out there hurt, it's it's not something we want to see out there with this team right now, especially where points are at a premium, right?
Yeah, yeah. Omer, thinking the same, just shut him down.
yeah. Advantage Juve definitely. No, not mainly because of him, not because he's at fault, but Motta playing him at left back, it just ain't it. I mean, Lloyd Kelly isn't a left back, and he leaves dust to Savona. So
Yeah,
that's not his position. Rotate him back to where he needs to play. He's a young guy. Let him get settled in one position before we start testing him out.
yeah. kind of thinking the same, especially if it's going to be like that, the way we've seen it. And then last, certainly not least, Douglas Luiz, muscular injury. And he will be heading back into what is the Bermuda Triangle of J-Med. We just can't get any rhythm with Douglas Luiz, and it sucks. And it's a hell of a ball to Vlahovic on a play there too in that second half to spring him, and it just sucks because I think, and I've always said, there's one hell of a player there, but here we go. One of the things that's kind of plagued us for years is these injuries, and this guy was so healthy, clean bill of health for years before coming to Juventus, so I am starting to raise questions, and we'll get into that. But we do have to get to the game, and we'll get to that on the backside of things. Cagliari Juventus. We got our starting lineup and Giovanni Albanese. It was only a matter of time, but he finally missed. He finally missed on his projected lineup compared to what we saw. So we got Di Gregorio, Weah, Gatti, Kelly, Cambiaso, Locatelli, and Cope Miners to start. It was expected to be Thuram. That was one of those pivot midfielders to get a start. This had fans fired up. And then you had Chico Conceição, McKennie, and Yildiz to start after it was being slated that it would be Mbangula to start, with Vlahovic leading the line. So I had concerns about Lloyd Kelly and said maybe in this game I expected us to dominate the ball. I would probably push Locatelli back and you'd still be all right. And I thought with a flooded, congested middle of the park, we'd want a true 10 in there, and I'd play Yildiz there. You could slide McKennie back. You could play Luiz from the start, whatever you wanted to do. That's all I was thinking quickly on that lineup. What were your thoughts when you saw the starting lineup, guys? We'll start with Omer, then get to Mas. Any changes you would have liked to see, Omer? Were you fine with it?
Of course, I would have liked Thuram in there.
Yeah.
Center back, I mean, there aren't any options anyway. So that's we had when Cambias or obvious choices. I actually liked the fact that he went with Yildiz and Vlahovic. I thought those two guys have a point to prove right now because of all the media talks, transfers, minutes, whatever. And that was a good opportunity for both of them to kind of shine and show what they're worth for the team. And besides that, Nico Gonzalez, 120 minutes against Eindhoven, played a lot against Inter, definitely need the rest. I would have rested McKennie as well. I think we're kind of pushing our luck with the guys who are playing constantly. Beyond that, nothing special. I thought that was a decent lineup for Cagliari away.
Yeah. And Mas, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, regardless, we had enough talent on the field to be able to win that game, right? I mean, should have been no excuses kind of thing. It's funny, you mentioned Kelly. When I was writing my notes, I put Kelly and then I put underlined cringe because obviously I'm not the biggest Lloyd Kelly fan. But no, like Omer said, like, good to see Vlahovic and Yildiz back. I think we need to be playing Vlahovic a little more just to at least maintain his value, right? Because obviously there's an exit coming in the summer. And Thuram, to me, is a must start. He needs to be on the field all the time. So the preference there would have been to see Thuram out there. But otherwise, overall, I had no problems with it.
There you go. I think we're all on the same page. And yeah, everybody's starting to feel the same thing with Thuram, that he is the most crucial in the midfield for this Juve. Definitely in terms of transitioning the game from the back to the front and linking up play. So yeah, we go without, though, Locatelli, Cope Miners, and we get into it. 13 minutes in. We don't have to wait very long. And Swarit, you might be the man of the match yesterday because you asked me who gets the preliminary day for players on Cagliari. I immediately said Jari Mina is the guy, and he gets a preliminary day. And 13 minutes in, he makes a shocking mistake there that Vlahovic did well to read and pounce on. And then he made me nervous. He cuts the keeper. He does the right thing because usually he'll shoot. And I was expecting he's going to shoot. He actually goes around Caprile and then tucks it in. And oh my God, that felt like an eternity watching that ball roll to try and get over that goal line. And Jari Mina there huffing and puffing, and it all goes in the goal. I'm stoked. Great start for Juventus. Immediately on my mind, probably the same as many, don't stop. Just, you got the early lead, take advantage, go at him. You're already dominating the ball. Let's go. 21st minute, Di Gregorio with a long ball. First of all, the trap here in stride by Yildiz was disgusting. Jumped up, headed it down in stride, kept running. The only thing it was missing to get Di Gregorio a sweet assist too was him burying, and unfortunately he couldn't put it past Caprile, but that's one I'd like to see him finish, and he knows it too. But hell of a play from Kenan Yildiz. 24th minute, good pressure inside. Vlahovic pulls up on the right side, gets a pass in. It's cut out, but Conceição pounces on it as the defender had to go down to block it. Tries to tuck it between the legs of Caprile. Nothing doing, but we're all over them. 28th minute, Vlahovic to Yildiz on a counter. He does everything right, cuts to his right. All he has to do is bury, and again, this one's kicked out by Caprile, and he can't find goal. Unfortunate for Yildiz. That's really the story of the first half. We dominated the ball. We were all over them. We were creating good opportunities. I think we finished with 7 or 8 attempts, and half of those were big chances. And that sucks when you can't put the teams away or get a more comfortable lead going into the second half. But a great first half, very positive. I liked it. I liked the work we were doing, especially that we were facing a 4-5-1 and they were stacked. But we were finding ways and we were creating. Guys, your thoughts on the first half? We'll start with Mas before going to Omer.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. It was on cruise control in the first half. I mean, we really dominated. I was a little concerned once we went up 1-0, just because, our past history this season with taking the lead, especially because Calgary's, I think they're second overall in terms of playing from behind and being able to come back and win games. So little concern there. But I mean, I thought Vlahovic had a really, really strong half. I thought Locatelli had a really strong half as well from mid. Overall, we just controlled the half. There was no concerns. The concern was being able to carry that over into the second half, right?
Yeah. And Omer, your thoughts on the first half?
Yeah, we were completely dominant. We controlled the first half. It was in our hands. We had some very good chances. Very poor finishing, to say the least.
Disaster class in finishing.
Yeah.
And I also missed the one that Chico had a tap in from like 7 yards out, and he completely missed the ball. That was a brutal one too.
Yeah, which is a positive and a negative, because we did want to see Juve get more chances against those low blocks, and they did manage to do that. But we gotta finish some of those chances. I mean, Yildiz, those 2 chances, one of them has to go in.
Yeah,
has to go in, and that's when I became scared. Like, I was positive in the first half, but when have we ever saw Juve this season replicate the same half? And so either way, we were in for a ride. Either Juve comes out guns blazing like the first half, or we're going to get pinned back and Cagliari will start asking questions. And that's what I thought was going to happen. And I was scared we're going to rue those missed chances, because those were very good chances and they have to bury them, at least one of them.
Oh, you have to. You can't walk away with that many. Like, it's completely different than what we're used to seeing, because we're used to seeing struggles in just even creating. But when you're talking about half your opportunities are big chances and you walk away with 1 goal that is actually from an error from the opposition, that's just not good enough. And it tells you your finishing is just nowhere near. Like, Yildiz has to walk away with at least 1 goal out of the opportunities he had. I would also argue Conceição probably should have walked away with 1 on the 2 opportunities he had, because they were both high percentage. I know he's at a bad angle on the one he takes from the keeper there, but trying to meg is probably not the play there. But nonetheless, I'll give him the benefit of doubt. I thought his tap-in opportunity from 7 yards was the bigger miss anyways, but you got to walk away with minimum 2 goals there if you're Juve. Bottom line, disaster class in finishing. Second half, I think we're all thinking the same thing. Do not rest on this. And that's where it was at. It was just do not rest on that half and that one goal. Like, keep pushing forward. You get to the second half, and this is kind of going to be very key in the second half in terms of our discussion moving forward. And the question that everybody's kind of asking, because some say there is progress there because we have dropped so many points from winning positions, but we're going to tackle it in the second half. I'll be quite honest. Second half was drab as hell, and there's not much to talk about here. There's an opportunity for Vlahovic that he made a mess of that would have been offside anyways, but that would have just been in par with the rest of the finishing this game, which was abysmal from Yildiz as well, Chico and Vlahovic. But then you get to, they were rather toothless, Cagliari. Let's be honest. I never really truly felt threatened, but you just have this PTSD from 14 or 16, whatever points it is that we've lost from winning positions.
But and Cagliari away has been a tough venue for us, and there was a stat during the match, like Serie A stat, of teams that come up with points after trailing first, and they were like second place.
It happened to us at home with Cagliari this year.
Yeah.
That's literally one of the games we did it. So, yeah. You did, in their house, you don't want to do it. 77th minute. Well, we could have sealed it, and we should have sealed it. He sent in clear. Dusan Vlahovic, great ball there. And you get a shove. This is what the official is looking at. Colombo, who I talked about before the match. We always do that. The Set the Tony segment. 40 appearances in Serie A, 5.4 yellows per game on average. He's staring. Look at this. I mean, you don't get any better of a view here. And I said on the live, probably the only method of thinking I could think here is that Dusan gets a shot off, but my God, his balance is completely off. The arms are fully extended, and you could see that clear as day. It's shocking. It's shocking stuff here, okay? We do have L'Arbitro Nick weighing in on this, and it's just, to start off, he says on the long ball to Dusan, he is automatically onside since he starts in his own half of the field. As play continues into the penalty area, you see Alberto give Dusan a push with his arms from behind and throws him off balance as he shoots. Here we need to decide whether or not this contact was enough to call a foul. The first clue is, was there any attempt to play the ball? Of course not. No, since the defender had to have his arms extended out directly behind Dusan, contrary to maybe going side to side with an attack and using some arm. When a player is completely beat right in front of goal, we know that the defender is desperate and is making that challenge with no other options. Based solely on this criteria and judging by how Dusan was off balance for his shot, this should have been a penalty for Juve and a red card for the Cagliari defender. The Dogso rule, which is denying of goal-scoring opportunity, where the card downgrades to yellow if a penalty is given, only applies when a defender makes a genuine attempt to play the ball. So that's why this one should have been PK and red. Now, this is where we come into play because we start to look at VAR. How come VAR doesn't step in? And we know because of this right here, this image that you're looking at with the official staring it down. The only thing VAR can do is essentially determine, hey, did you see the shove? Yeah. I mean, how the hell does he not? Unless that madam there in the fourth row there caught his eye there right at this time, he's looking at this play. But otherwise, I mean, yeah, he saw it. So the only intervention VAR can do is essentially say, hey, did you see that or not? Because that would have been clear and obvious error. So L'Arbitro Nick VAR is now a big gray area here. Hearing the VAR audio would be beneficial here because it's all about fixing only clear and obvious errors. Sometimes little details the ref and VAR discuss are subjective and make the difference whether or not the referee goes to the monitor. If the referee tells VAR he sees the push from behind but deems Duchamp went down too easily, there isn't much for VAR to counter with. If the ref completely misses the push in the back, that opens a door for VAR to get involved. It seems, for Nick Cardone there, it seems as though the entire football world needs to work on where that line of intervention is for VAR. Guys, obviously we know this is a clear-cut PK. Do they need to change VAR? Do they need to scrap VAR? What do you think?
I wouldn't say scrap. I wouldn't say scrap, but I mean, something needs to change. It's week in, week out of just VAR errors in every major league. It decides games. It becomes the point of the game. And now the referee is the star who gets to determine and have all the focus on him during matches. I hate it. I'm not here to watch the referee. I'm not here to bite my nails at every guy who falls inside the area. I can't celebrate goals properly because it always seems like there's a reason to cancel it. And it needs to be fixed. I don't know how. No idea. It is a useful tool. The problem is not with VAR. I mean, that it's a tool that if you use it correctly, like you do in the NFL and NBA, it works great. The rules are the problem, and that's. I mean, I'm not holding my breath with FIFA are not quick to change rules. So I guess that's what we have right now. That's a blatant penalty. No attempt at the ball at those high speeds. Even the smallest touch can knock you off your balance. Behind him, red card, penalty all day.
Mas, VAR.
Yeah, I think Gio in the chat nailed it. It's consistency, right? I mean, the tool is there, and it's a good tool to have. Obviously, right? It's an amazing tool to have, but you got to use it right? I definitely would not scrap it, but we got to figure something out because it's all over the board, right?
I actually, this is just a feeling I've had thinking about it, and since VAR's come in, I actually think the just standard officiating has become worse because of it. That's my feelings on it. I think having this safety net there actually makes the officials shittier than they've ever been across the board. And I'm not just talking about Serie A. I'm just talking straight up across the board. I think officiating is at its worst. And I don't think it's coincidence. If it were up to me, I think it sucks life out of games sometimes as well. I wouldn't scrap it completely, but I'd probably use it for your goal line technology and your offsides. I'd probably just go with that route. I think using it way too much, just I don't even know. And if in a circumstance like this, it has no actual intervention power, then what the hell are we doing anyways? Yep. So I don't know. VAR has always been this thing for me that I don't actually know if it's as beneficial as it's made out to be or was sold at the beginning. But nonetheless, this one, my God, shit show. And it's from the official, Colombo, not VAR, because they can't intervene. So he got that one completely wrong. 82nd minute. This was the best opportunity for Cagliari. Coleman with I was calling him my Aunt Kingsley, with the best chance that Cagliari had, and that was a rip from Di Gregorio's right side, their left flank, going short side, but Di Gregorio watched it into the stands. And then 92nd minute, Yildiz set up one more time on a trailing run, this time from Colomwani, and his shot is again stopped by Caprile, and he looked gassed. But we do get out of this match with the 1-0 victory. Let's go. We needed the win. We got the win. But now, everybody's, like I said, it's like a seesaw. It's just this yo-yo, this up and down of feelings, because now they're starting looking at points in the table. It's like, man, 8 points at a top? can we do this? But then you look at that second half, you're like, oh my God, we still are a one-half team. Everyone's all over the place. Everyone's all over the place. We'll talk about this match. We'll talk about our thoughts overall. We'll get into some player ratings too and just kind of go through this, all right? But as we go through these ratings, when we get to your man of the match, you cut in and let me know if that's your man of the match, okay? So Di Gregorio gets 7.2. I had no problems with it. Didn't have that much work, really.
Yeah. Very commanding. Took care of everything. No big saves to make. Was always in position. Solid performance.
Yeah. And by the way, I just wanted to highlight this. I like this. I'd rather go a challenge route than what they're doing with.
I thought about it, but there's an issue there with challenges. Because if a coach has run out of challenges, I mean, you got to determine a line where VAR has to intervene. If a coach has no challenger and there's a blatant offside goal, that we get the goal or they get the goal because we're out of challenges, you gotta.
Well, no, VAR. I would still stick with. I would stick with VAR for offside, and I would stick with goal line technology. But like on plays that are outside of that, one challenge per half, I'm fine with that.
And you get the challenge back if you're right, like in tennis.
Kind of like even like a football thing in the NFL, you get it back.
Yeah, it's working in North America, right? Why not? Yeah. Why not try it?
Why not try it? Why not try it? So Di Gregorio, we're good with. Weah 7.2. Actually across the back there. So Weah 7.2. You won't get any arguments from me. He's doing a good job at right back. Gatti 7.3.
Pause.
There you go. Fire away, man.
Yeah, that's my man of the match. I thought Juve's defensively were very solid. I want to give the credit to Kelly too. Looking at it, before the match, what I expected was to stop having the aerial threat issue that we had recently. Those are two big guys. They need to command this area and not let those stupid goals happen. And they did. Cagliari tried crossing a lot. They got to everything. Gatti, I want to single him out because just listen to that list. Bremer, Kalulu, Gatti, Kelly, Vega, Cabal, Rugani, Gonzalez, Jallo, Hoysen. All of those were center backs, and Danilo. All of those were center backs at Juve during the season. The only two available are Gatti and Kelly. That's insane. Kelly came in January, end of January. That's absolutely insane. That's like 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 center backs out for various reasons. But Gatti is here. Gatti has been here the entire season, changing partners, whatever, Kalulu, Bremer, Kelly, Vega. And that was a commanding performance from him, even though the altercation was Weah in the end, and guys grow up. It happens. So man of the match for me, easily.
There you go. I gave him his flowers too for the exact same stuff on the pregame show yesterday, and I completely agree. Mas, anything to add on Gatti?
No, I mean, there's something to be said about continuity, right? Like Omer said, to have to rotate through all those center back partners and still be putting in quality performances. I've always said Gatti's not somebody who's going to show you a lot of flash and dash kind of thing, but he's a solid contributor. And if you put a quality partner beside him, he's gonna do what you need him to do there, right? I think the last few games he's put in a lot more on the offensive side of the game as well in terms of pushing into the box. So no, he wouldn't be my man of the match, but he did have a solid game for sure.
Yeah. Has Gatti overtaken the most underappreciated player? Wes used to get that quite a bit. Huh. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Credit to both guys. They are fighting to play for Juve.
Yeah. Lloyd Kelly, 7.2. All I'm going to say is he is clearly not a left back. All right. Clearly not a left back. And all I'm going to say is he's not world beating at center back. I'm not all of a sudden hyping him up. I'm just saying you could see some of the positive traits in his game actually come through at the center back role. At the fullback role, there was nothing at all coming through. And you're like, how on earth is this guy even anywhere near Juventus? But at the center back role, it at least resembles something football player-esque. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. He is not a fullback. Cambiaso on a 7. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, whatever.
I think decent. I think he was active. He was very much involved in the build-up. Came in like created sort of a trio in midfield, which got us a lot of points early in the season. So yeah, good performance from him. Too bad he had to come off. The pubic thing can be a nightmare. So
Yeah,
let's hope he gets best.
yeah. Cope Miners. This is where I started to think, you know what? We don't pay Thiago Motta much, and maybe he's making extra chicoria by doing the ratings for SofaScore, because 7.4 for Cope Miners.
No, that's
Madonna
excessive.
mia.
Too high.
Talk about generous.
Yeah.
Well, too high compared to Loco, who's at 7.2. I thought Loco had a solid game. So there's no way he should be higher
No,
than
that's
Loco, to be honest.
higher than the
Yeah,
entire defense. I mean, yeah.
there's no chance. And I was saying too, I wouldn't have taken Loca out of that game. The way it was going, the way it was heading, like I say, Loca needed to stay in there. Loca's definitely should be higher. Cope Miners, I don't think cracks 7 for me. There's just not enough there. He was a passenger for his time out there. Conceição at a 6.4. All I'm going to say is I don't think he needs a high rating at all or anything, but I did actively see him pick his head up a lot, especially through the first half and stuff in that game. What's funny is right before he was subbed off, he had 2 instances again, back to back, where it was bad decisions. But I did see him actively almost checking himself and like picking his head up and making some progressions that were the right progressions. So I still believe in the guy. I'm still on the train of signing him outright at season's end. But 6.4, you're not going to get an argument from me.
Yeah. Look, he's very enthusiastic. And that's the thing with youngsters. They're super enthusiastic. When you watch like the greats play, I mean, the best example is Messi, but even go to like Robin, Ribéry, and those guys, like they knew when to start sprinting, and they had a bit more composure. And he's young, so he's super excited. So every time he gets the ball, he goes all out, dribbles all the way into defense, and he has to pick his moments, when to do it, when to give back the ball. Not only when you're pinned to the sideline, then you pass, and you don't have to shoot every time you cut inside. I mean, there are elements to his game that he needs to improve on and make better decisions generally. But absolutely sign him. The guy is super talented. Just it's a youngster thing. Super excited. He needs to be managed a bit.
Yeah. Mas, where are you on Chico's? Quite a few of the fans have changed their tone on him lately.
No, I would not change my tone at all. I think Omer nailed it. He's a young player. We haven't had a player like this in a long time, a guy that can take on, defenders one-on-one. Because he's young, you got to take the highs with the lows, right? There's going to be games where he's going to blow us away offensively. There's going to be games where he, makes mistakes and doesn't look very strong, like this game, right? So I have no issue with re-signing or signing him out right in the summer. That's the kind of player we need.
There we go. McKenny 7. I don't think no fault to his, but I just don't think this was the game for him. And he looked gassed quite quickly. And I thought he should have been one of the first subs in the midfield, no fault of his own. A 10 against a stacked, tight defensive line and mid. That's not the game. That's not the game for him. So he didn't hit 7 for me, but it wasn't because really of him. It was just more the circumstances. That's all I'm going to say on Mac.
I barely noticed him out there, to be honest.
Yeah.
There was a point in the game where I was watching him like this guy has been invisible. No fault of his own. Just the game didn't
very
fit his
lively,
strength, right?
And it was
very
wild
lively
to see
when
him
we
for
pressured.
90. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Yildiz.
kind of. I think it was forced with the injuries and everything.
Yeah. Yildiz at a 7.5. Good game from him, but without the finishing and the opportunities he had to him, he's got to get docked some for that. So if I'm looking at my 2 man of the match and where I have them scored, he's not going to be at 7.5. He'll be at like a 7. I think he deserved a 7. And I'll leave him there. Guys, Yildiz, his score?
Yeah, I mean, he could have been like an 8.3 if you bury those chances. That's why I'm not furious, but frustrated. He could have easily been man of the
Yeah.
match if it
Yeah.
was for even one of those chances goes in. Because
Yeah.
besides the misses, the poor finishing, yeah, I think it was great. Very lively. That move to take control of that the Gregorio long ball, that was world class. He anticipated that move, and none of the defenders expected it, and he just had to bury that. That could
Yeah.
have been a worldie, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, a bit high, but he could have easily been man of the match
Yeah.
with that
So
performance.
7 for me. Mas, anything to add on Yildiz there? Should he stay at
No,
7.5?
I would bring him down a bit. You needed the
Yeah.
goal there, right? I mean, he did everything but that. He was lively when he was out there. He was taking players on. But 7.5, I wouldn't leave him there. I'd probably do give him like a 7.2.
There you go. There you go. And we wrap things up with Dusan Vlahovic before we get into substitutes. 7.4. Official man of the match. I had it for Vlahovic and Gatti, but I will go to Vlahovic because literally he pounced on the one goal that we actually did end up getting. It's a moment that he's actually messed up quite a few times previously, and he hasn't been starting, and Kolomuani's been bagging goals and doing well, but he finds it, and it's a big goal because it's the only one we managed to find in this game. He also should have been given that PK. Whether or not he probably would have been the one to step up and take it, but I give it to Vlahovic. He did a lot of work, and what I liked, this is what also infuriated me about this game. I've said all season long when it was just Dusan around, and I said teams that want to play that defensive block like that and that box defense like that, get yourself away from the last line. Stop isolating yourself. Get out, move around, find a way to get involved in the buildup and start from deeper and then run towards goal. He literally did that, and it's February 23rd, and I was infuriated that it took this long, Kolomuani stepping in here, whatever, to see what should have been happening all along. But he looked good. It was a good active performance. I will give him the man of the match, and Gatti right behind him. Guys, your thoughts on Vlahovic?
Yeah, again, not my man of the match, but a lot better from him. A lot better from him. Yeah, that's what we wanted. If you're not involved in the game, make yourself part of the game instead of
Yeah.
standing there and complaining you don't get the balls. Go get the ball wherever you need to be. I feel like the entire attack got their points for the first half, and the second half was just nothing, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's decent. It's a decent scoring.
And Mas, Vlahovic.
No, I think you know Alberto. I mean, we saw things from him yesterday that we have not seen this season. The guy's barely played since January, so for him to come in motivated to be able to bag that goal, which was a good finish, he was 100% my man of the match. I mean, the second half there wasn't anybody that really stood out at all. So you really got to look at the first half in terms of your man of the match.
Yeah.
And I thought he was the best player of the first half. So,
Yeah.
I'm happy for him for sure.
And you're absolutely right about nobody really standing out. We'll talk about like the ratings just on our subs. 6.9, 6.7, 6.1, 6.5, and you had 1.7, and that was in Bangula. As far as the substitutes go, I actually didn't have an issue with the subs. My only one was we had Douglas Luiz come in the 62nd minute for Cope Miners, and I was fine with that. Okay, I did think that Weston McKennie needed a break. So when he pulled Kefren Turam in and took out Luca, that one actually surprised me because I was like, Luiz could slot forward and you could lock it in with Locatelli and Turam, which has been the best pivot setup this season predominantly. So I didn't have a terrible problem with it. Kolomuani in for Conceição at the 62nd minute. No problem with it. I was fine with that. Yildiz was playing a good game. And then Douglas Luiz had to leave because of injury. So we pulled Mbangula in, and then Yildiz slotted over to the 10. But a couple things I liked is that he did play Kolomuani with Vlahovic, and he used Kolomuani on the wing. And it's the shame here is that in all our positives, it's so frustrating as a Juventus fan because we see these things when there's no energy in our game and no active drive forward. So we don't actually gain anything from it happening. It happened. They were on the pitch together, but we still have no idea about how it would truly look because we weren't playing with the proper attitude, I guess, at that point. But I do like the fact that he went there, and maybe we could see it in the future. Kolomuani on a wing, Yildiz as a 10, Vlahovic up top. I'm curious. I am curious. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And we could touch on this and start to move forward on it. My last thought out of the subs, Rui is not going to be a Juventus player. Like, I'm sorry, that was a fucking game of pinball when he came in. I know he's young, and I apologize to the Swedes out there that are rooting for this guy. I just don't see it happening. I don't see it happening, even on loan, etc., whatever. There's so much cleanup needed, and I know it'd be harsh because he's a young guy. I just don't see it. I just cannot see it with him. It's like talking about Kelly as an outside player. I just don't see. I was like, I don't see what we're looking at. I'm there with Rui. I don't see it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a future Juventus player to me. I do get the minutes because I do hope we can get something for him and be able to sell him, but it's not it. And
No.
I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing the reason to try and integrate him and see some added value. But that was a forced substitution as well. So is Douglas Luiz. So yeah, I agree with everything you said. McKennie should be the one out. Locatelli should not have been called out. I would like to see Dusan and Cole. I would have liked to see them from the first minute when we do press on the gas a bit.
Yeah.
But overall, I agree with everything you said.
Now, in terms of the changes we're going to get to, Kolomuani on the wing, Yildiz as a 10, Vlahovic up top. Mas, you want to see that?
It's funny because when I saw Colo come in, I'm like, holy shit, is he going to play two strikers here? Is this actually happening? And then I saw him move over to the wing, and I'm like, okay, they're both out there, but not, in the preferred spots that they would like to be. So, the more talent you have on the field, the better, right? The only question is, what do you do with Chico once Colo's out there on the right? So,
because it's not a bad problem to have. And I mean, these guys are going to need rest. We talked about Nico and the amount of minutes he got consecutively. And Imbangula is one that, like, he's a good player too. And he's played his part throughout this season. But Kolomuani can play out to the side. At the end of the day, and this is the frustrating part, we haven't seen it enough to gauge how strong it is. And points are critical to Juve. So it's like, do we have the confidence in doing that from the outset of a big game? Based on what we've seen, we'd probably all lean towards Kolomuani leading the line and then a standard thing of what you've seen with the wingers, right? I'm still hell-bent on matching up to the opposition and how you see the games are going to play out. Yildiz just needs to be on the pitch for me, but he can operate as a winger. He can operate as a 10. Yesterday was the game for him to operate as a 10, but he did very well as a winger too. But at the sacrifice of Colt Miners and McKennie having zero impact on this game whatsoever, right? Could another player have had an impact on the wing in yesterday's game if Yildiz moved to the 10? Absolutely. And Yildiz, for me, would have had more impact than McKennie and Colt Miners. Cambiasso moving from fullback into the middle had more impact than McKennie and Colt Miners. So for me, get your playmakers where they need to be. I still think we should go that route. But this is the thing out of this game, because we're like, well, 1-0, a tale of two halves. Have we gained any true progress? Because some are saying
Yes,
that there is progress just simply in getting this one across the line.
yes, yes. Look,
So
let's not make it what it's not. This win is super important considering everything that happened. Fiorentina lost, Lazio drew, Milan lost, Napoli lost. That win was important. I don't care how you get it. So yeah, there are matches like that. Cagliari away is a tough match. I'm gonna give Motta a break here. Come on, there are two CBs on the roster right now, coming off a bad elimination against Heideven. We want to keep the momentum going. I'm fine with one good half. Sometimes you get those matches. You got them under Conte and under Allegri, those tough away games where you score one goal early, and that's how the game ends for you. It wasn't like all the time 80% possession dominating two halves. You get those games sometimes. We had the same thing against Como. It's good we got out with the points. As you see, Como is not an easy place to play. So is Cagliari. So I don't want to make little of this win. It's super important. We used to draw those games early in the season. It's good that we're winning them now because now that we're out of the Champions League, our main focus should be on the league, and that's a good one.
I remain adamant. It was always Serie A should have been our main focus. Absolutely always. Always was. And I never wavered. Never wavered. Mas, do you see progress?
I mean, for me, progress is only if we're able to maintain consistency from game to game, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't want to see one game where, we show up. Like, how many games have we had this season where we've had two strong halves, a full game, right? It's few and far between. We are getting points, which is obviously super important. But for me, progress means putting in full efforts for 90 minutes, consistently game after game, and we're definitely not there yet. If history's taught us anything this season, it's, we'll have a strong showing one game and we'll lay an egg the next, right? So it's a work in progress.
I'm at the same spot I've been at. I'm at one game at a time. It's 4 wins in Serie A consecutively for the first time this season, which is great. But again, when you look at those games, you break them down, it raises questions. When you have people actively on social media, and like I said, it's a yo-yo around Juve right now. They brought up the Scudetto again because it is only 8 points. We're only 8 points out. But that confidence comes from what you see game in, game out. There's still a lot of work to do on the pitch. Yesterday's match, I agreed with everything Motta did. I had a couple changes that I probably would have thought about at the start. Maybe one sub that I didn't agree with, but overall, that game should have been killed. And it was down to the players why it wasn't killed. Nothing to do with Thiago Motta. So,
Yeah, I give
if
him a pass
that
here.
changing the narrative for this Juve comes down to getting the job done, it comes down to getting results. It's going to take a healthy run to actually get. It's only 8 points, but it is going to take a healthy run. Can we continue to string the wins together? We need to get clinical, and you need to be healthy because we're going to need all hands on deck. But the big positive is we actually created a ton in that first half yesterday. The big concern is this. This is the big concern for me when you want to talk about progress. Dusan Vlahovic comes out in his interview post-match and he lays it out and he's spot on. If we want to be serious, if we want to make true progress, if you want to grow as a team, we must stop suffering in the second half or in halves of football like we did the second half today. And we need to kill games. We need to seal them. What's concerning about this statement is that it's not the first time it's come up. It's come up a ton of times. McKennie is 1 week removed from saying our coach Motta always urges us on, even after we score one goal. And now Vlahovic, another player, says we have to stop suffering. What is it? What is it that is continuously having them do that if it's not even instructed by Motta? And this is where my issue is with this team and seeing progress and like having the confidence that this team can really put forth a run that we can make that gap up and dream. Like, what is it that prevents that from happening if your coach is doing that? I can't wrap my head around it. Guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think
the set half, ended yesterday, and I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall to see what his pep talk was to the team, right? To go from how they performed in the first half to what we saw in the second. I'm sure he's not sitting there and going, "Okay, guys, lay off the gas and let's just rest on our laurels with this 1-0 win." But there's something there where it's all mental, right? And this is what scares me about this Scudetto talk too, right? This team is so mentally fragile. If you start introducing this talk of a Scudetto run here and there, it's totally negative, right? Berto, you nailed it. It's got to be a game at a time. Don't even worry about the Scudetto talk. Let's get a result a game at a time and see where we end up at the end, right? But it's been mental for me this whole season with this team. I know they're young. I know it's new players, but at some point, we're in February, guys. We got to figure it out, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
mm-hmm.
Omer, your thoughts on why this happens?
Well, I don't think we give enough credit to other teams. I mean, Italy is super tactical leagues. Teams are working all week to challenge Juve. I think that was Cagliari's game plan, like sort of suffer through the first half and then push back in the second half. And when we get pushed back, we get into situations that we don't handle too well because the team is young, because we're missing some of our leaders, and because some players are on the bench, whatever. But there is another team in every match who works to nullify you, and sometimes it works out for them. I think that was their game plan, and that's why I'm happy we got the 3 points because it's super important. And talking about Scudetto, it would be a miracle. I mean, there are positives to look at. Inter are still in the Champions League with a very thin squad. On the other hand, we need them to lose at least 3 times, which is exactly what they did so far in like 26, 27 games. And we need them to do that in 12. So I'm not holding my breath. One match at a time. I want us to give a push. If we do win, it's a miracle. Miracles sometimes do happen, but I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah, and the schedule isn't awful, right? I mean, if you look at our remaining
Yeah.
games, I think that Atalanta and Roma is the 2 toughest games we got left. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the path
That's
is
on
there.
our side. And to Omer's credit, he brought that up a couple shows ago. You're absolutely right, because we've got Empoli Copa Italia in 3 days here. You've got, 2 days now. You've got Verona. Then you have Atalanta, Fiorentina, and then Genoa, Roma, Lecce, Parma, Monza, Bologna, Lazio, Udinese, Venezia. That's pretty damn good, guys. That's pretty damn good.
There are some minds there. Bologna, I think, will be a tough match, but depending on how we get there, and mentally, I'm mainly happy we won because the games after elimination from the Champions League haven't been great for us, and we sort of got to let it go and that chapter is done. Let's move forward, focus on the league. So we'll have to wait. I mean, Keane suffered an injury. The teams are starting to fall apart around us.
And I mean, this is the thing that bothered me, and I said this yesterday on the watch line. I said, I hate that we're score watching these mutts. It always has been and always will come down to us. We need to take care of business. As far as can Juve change the narrative, and that also goes to Motta. Can Motta change the narrative on what has been a season that has been underwhelming from his perspective in the eyes of many fans? And it comes down to the same thing. If they want to change the narrative, if Motta wants to change the narrative, if fans can truly believe in a Scudetto dream, it comes down to all the same things. Consistency across the board. And the truth is, if you ask me why I've been going one game at a time for quite some time now, it's because every time I've gotten my hopes up and I get super optimistic, I've been slapped right across the face. It is up to this group of players and this manager to show us. If we want to believe, they need to show us that we can believe. But it comes down to consistency. And that's the main thing. As far as why I believe we continuously see some of these second half lulls or whatever, I just honestly feel this team is different at 0-0. And they can't channel that once you're up a goal. And I do think it comes down to coaching. I really do, because you get tighter. You're not as outgoing to get that goal with a lead, because they don't want coaches like Motta. He is very, very similar to even Massimiliano, if nobody wants to admit or whatnot. They're very similar in the sense that when you have that lead, you also change your approach in the attack more often than not. And I think it's the reason you're hearing players say, we can't figure it out. He tells us to go. But I bet you there's a tweak tactically that just changes the approach in terms of aggression, in terms of players moving forward and support, which changes everything. Especially if you're playing certain teams and their setups, you can only really hurt them and attack them with numbers. So I think there is something there to the game when you're one up. And the funny thing about this team is there is no right or wrong answer, and it's a hell of a team to figure out. 43 goals has us with the fourth best attack in Italy. 21 goals conceded has us tied for the best defense with Napoli. And it's like, there was a point where we were like, are we going to score goals like enough to get points that can have us even think about where we could finish up being battling for one or two? But the funny thing is all of this, it comes down to that one storyline, and that's those dreaded 14 or 16 or 17, I can't remember what it got up to, but those points lost from winning positions.
Yeah, that's where the stats read out. Juve are not as bad as they seem. They dropped most of the points. It's not a bad. I mean, two of these matches are wins. Let's take Fiorentina and the last game against Cagliari, for example, and we're 2 points of first place. So it's kind of infuriating, but
it's super infuriating.
Yeah, but it is better than what we've seen like a month and a half ago.
We pissed away double. We pissed away double the amount of points that would have had us in first.
Yeah.
In our hands. It really, it's an eye-opener because, man, the feelings sometimes might be a little bit too low for where it actually is. It's kind of interesting. This finish to the season could be a very, very interesting one. But I'm ready for one game at a time. Mas, what do you think about these stat lines, these numbers and stuff? Like, it's funny to look at because it's not as probably doom and gloom as it's felt watching the games, right?
Yeah, and I knew about the goals against. The goals for, I didn't realize we were that far up because it seems like there's been just a shitload of 1-0 games or 1-1s or whatever you want to call it, but yeah, I mean, ultimately, Omer said it right. At the end of the season, we're going to look back on those ties, and wherever we end up, we're either going to, be happy with it, or we're going to rue the day, rue those results, right? But it's not an amazing season so far, but it could have been a lot better, right?
Yeah,
if we would have 1 or 2 games even to close that gap, right? But
we do have favorable schedule going down the end. There's some key matchups with the other teams around us. We had a good weekend. So no matter tale of two halves or whatever in this Cagliari match, we got the 3 points with a lot of drops around us. We just have to, one game at a time, get the job done. The next one, though, is Coppa Italia Empoli. We are going to get in to storm the barn here. Some of the news that was coming out, though, was we have not given up on Żegrova. And Żegrova still targeted by Juventus. Man, still with all these wingers, as well as Adeyemi, Lookman, etc. But your thoughts on Żegrova?
Yeah, super injury prone. Could be said to super injury prone this season. I think this could be said about a lot of players. So I don't want to single him out because it feels like it is what it is today. That's what players are going through. That's how tough the schedule is. Everyone is injury prone, especially if you're a young prospect who just doesn't get a rest. So he's like, what, 25 right now?
I think so.
He seems like a great player. He would be a great addition. It's just the injuries always sticks out like a sore thumb. We talked about in the green room. I mean, Douglas Luiz came with basically a injury-free history, and now he can get a match and a half going without becoming injured. So, yeah, I wouldn't push for a winger anyway. No Motta, like we said in the green room, starting his band, Thiago and the wingers. I don't get the push for all those wingers. So it's a no for me right now for Żegrova because it means that Mbangula is going to be sold. I don't think Juve's focus should be.
Yeah. Mas, what do you think?
No, I mean, Żegrova abused us in the Champions League. Let's be honest. He had a solid showing against us. And after that, I knew little about him beforehand, to be honest. Yeah. But after that game, I was sold, but I wasn't aware of his injury history, to be honest. And I don't want any part of any players that have any sort of injury history coming to us because, as we know, J Medical is quite packed these days. So
the Bermuda Triangle. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, and I don't think it's a need. Like Omer said, I don't think it's a need. We do have a lot of wingers, and if it means selling Mbangula, I'd rather keep Mbangula because what I've seen from him this season is solid, and I think we grow with him, to be honest.
Yeah. Żegrova is a really good player. You'll never hear me say otherwise. As far as it's hard because this year has been a nightmare, a disaster for him. You saw it on the graphic I pulled up for injuries. And even going back to the discussion we just had about the confidence in this side to make this push, you would need the injuries to clean up. I still have zero faith in what we are doing, and I think that there is issues there, and I have no idea why we never hear about it and media's not asking about it in pressers and just being like, guys, you've had 21 injuries this season, and you've had the count is up into double digits of guys that have returned from injury and had to immediately go back on the shelf. There is major issues there, and I have no idea why. It's just swept under the fucking rug. But if you want me to believe in this team to make this run down the line, it's going to be all hands on deck. And
I mean, the solution is not hoarding up players because we have a lot of injuries. It's fix the injury issue.
Like, what are we doing?
Which has been there for a long time, right?
Too long.
It's wild to me. And not only that, but like recovery times. So we're slow on recovery times, but you're high on re-aggravation. So make that make sense. So it doesn't. There's a major issue there. And now at left back, thankfully Cambiaso is okay. Otherwise, you're literally left with the Lloyd Kelly show or McKennie dropping back there. And it's just, it's scattered. You've only got 2 CBs right now until Vega and Kalulu get back. Kalulu looks like it's going to be another maybe week and a half, 2 weeks. It's tight. But for me, I don't know. I would rather not jump on guys that are having a brutal year for injuries. I'd probably just look elsewhere. And if we're going to talk wingers in general, I don't like the whole thing that this immediately said to me is that we're selling in Bangula. I don't think the price tag's going to be worth it. Yeah, it's all capital, but I think it's going to be 12 mil, somewhere around there. And at that point, I keep him around.
Just keep them.
which
Yeah,
is
for sure.
which is annoying because compared to how much Hoysen played and how much Sule has shown, I think Bangula showed more than both of them
I
for
agree.
Juve, which should pump up his price for at least 20 million.
I agree, but I'm expecting 12 mil. For Jagrova, 40 million. They're saying now last summer he was 25. This year he's played less, worse stats, like ton of injuries, 40 mil, but he's going into a final contract year, so I'm not buying the 40 mil. The trade-off, if you just looked at it on paper, player to player, if you got a good deal on Jagrova, you got 12 mil capital, say you buy him for 25. Jagrova to Imbangula is a big difference, and nobody can deny that. Like, on the
Absolutely.
pitch. But it's all those variables around it, right? I don't like buying guys on bad injury years. That's just me. But let's get into Storm the Barn, everybody. Let's go. Let's rock. Do you guys agree? And by the way, everybody, get the likes up. Let's go. Hit that like button. Let's go. Do you agree that Vlahovic on the bench for a while has made him much more hungry than before? Than before when he was the only option. Mas, do you think him sitting is maybe a little hit on the ego, eh?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen him enough to say it's made him hungrier because it's only been one game, right? Or spot
and a couple
spot
cameos,
playing time
yeah,
here and there, exactly. So, it definitely didn't hurt. That's for sure. Competition's always a positive thing, but I just think he's been professional the whole time. I think I have a lot of time for Vlahovic, and I don't think it wasn't a negative. Let's just put it that way. For sure, bringing in somebody else couldn't have hurt the situation for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Omer, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I feel like the Vlahovic situation can only be solved by Vlahovic because when he's confident and when he feels like it, then he's a great forward, and he had moments during the season that he was that. But his mentality is like getting him back to trusting himself and feeling confident on the pitch. That has been the main issue with him. That's been a task for every coach he worked under. So he can be better. It's all up to him. I don't know what Motta can add to him anymore, not what Allegri could have added to his game. It's just his mentality that breaks every time things don't work out, which happens way too often for a guy who's not a youngster anymore and should be leading the line. So it's all in his hands, to be honest.
Yeah. How about that elastico he tried in the box? I was shocked he even attempted. I was like, Duchamp's trying an elastico in the box? Oh my God. That was wild stuff. Imagine being the defender after, if he had succeeded on an elastico, and it's like, you're the guy that just got posterized by Vlahovic on an elastico. I've never seen him attempt anything like it. Would have been wild. I think, to Mas's point, like, and it would never have hurt bringing somebody else in and whatever. Would it make him more hungry? I think just make him more rested, honestly. Like, it's draining. It's draining to have your game critiqued over and over and not be able to take a break, take a reset ever because you're the only option up top. And I said it a million times over. The creation issue is not a Vlahovic problem. It's not a Kolomouani problem. It's a system problem. And even whoever plays up top there suffers from the same fate. So we had to pick it up from a team perspective. And I still think there's work to do there. And we're not just cooking. We got a very important win, but there's still work to do. So, I think the whole situation, it was needed. And I think it will help them down the stretch. Ooh, this is a good one. And Mas, the elder statesman of the panel here today. What if you can rewrite one moment in Juve's history? Which one do you choose?
Obviously,
That's
for
a
me,
heavy one.
For me, Calciopoli.
Yeah,
And close seconds, it's either 2015 or 2017
exactly.
Champions League final. Take your pick, but absolutely Calciopoli.
I mean, I, I was there. I was old enough to see the '96 win. I mean, a lot of us would, but some of the younger guys that followed maybe weren't around then. But so I've seen the Champions League at least. So Calciopoli would probably be pretty high on my list in terms of wiping that off the board, to be honest. But turning around one of those Champions League results would be pretty sweet as well, just because we
As
were so damn
as
close. Right?
as you could turn around those Champions League results, I'll tell you right now, if 2006 that garbage doesn't go down, we had an incredible side, and we were
Mm-hmm.
still pulling incredible names. Like we had a team that was like just insane. How we didn't do better in European play there, that is up to Capello. But I'm sorry, that team was disgusting, world class all around. We would have gotten a Champions League. We would have got a Champions League in a couple of years to come there with the right guy leading the charge. So yeah, let's take away that, and it would have been something else. So it's got to be that. It's got to be that. Early thoughts and feelings for the Copa Italia match and facing Lord DeCilio. Will he get on the scoreboard again? How do you feel going into that game? What's a lineup that you would like to see in that Copa Italia match, Omer?
Yeah, I would want to rest probably Wea, rest McKennie, and Nico can get back in the mix. But I would like to see some interesting changes. Center backs are what we have,
Yeah,
the two healthy ones. Perrin can start the match definitely. Cambiaso is a tricky one because the only other option is Rui, and I don't want him starting. But overall, like pretty confident because we just beat them 4-1 at home. We can do it again. I'm not overly terrified in that match, but a good opportunity for some rotations.
yeah. Mas, early thoughts? Maybe some lineup changes you want to see?
Yeah, I don't want to go too crazy in terms of rotations. I mean, we have struggled against some weaker sides this season, so I mean, it's not like we're going to walk in there and just guarantee ourselves a win. But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Perrin start. To be honest, give Digre a little bit of a rest. Um, Wea, I think, needs a bit of a break, so I would probably pull him too.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see Vlahovic start again, to be honest. And then at some point bring Kolo in, maybe early second half, and see what they can do together for a little bit more time, especially if they're playing with a lead.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. Oh, it's always time for Berto T97. Come on. Always time for Berto. Berto first cap. Berto.
He
Yeah.
can definitely start.
He
Yeah,
could definitely
absolutely.
play. Get him in there. I see the next Storm the Barn is actually, would you call up Adzic to play against Empoli in the Copa? I think it's funny, and I've called it out for a while now. Like I don't know, past week, Adzic getting crazy reviews in next gen. We're looking for a 10. We can't find the proper 10 solution. He is a 10, but was only, up to cameos. It's frustrating, but at the same time, they're trying to get bigger guys going. They're trying to get them rolling. And we were force-fed Cope Miners. To some degree now, Mac has kind of taken over that, where for him, I think it's situational, where he can do the job in certain matches based on what we expect from the opponent. Should Adzic come in and get into this play? I'm open to it. But I would definitely go with Perrin. Keep the center backs obviously the same because that's what you got. Alberto Costa can start at right back. For left back, Cambiaso just got back in. He isn't injured. I'd probably go that route because McKennie needs a break. I'm not playing Wes in this game to start. I would start Thuram. Louise is hurt. You want to give Weston a rest. That leaves Locatelli and Cope Miners. Cope Miners can start this game. So Cope Miners, Taram, up ahead of that. Yeah. Pull Adzic in as a 10. Go in Bangula on the left. Chico can start on the right, or you can even play Kolomuani and Vlahovic up top there. But I would probably maybe go Kolomuani to start. And at right wing, Nico can come back in. Something like that. I'm fine with. But we'll see how much change he puts over and how hard we push for this Coppa Italia. You want to make a good, healthy run. We've got a very favorable side of the bracket. I want to see us in that final. That final.
Bologna eliminated Atalanta, so that's our opponent in the semifinals.
Yeah.
We should make it to the finals.
Yeah, I want to see us in the final there for Coppa Italia. Absolutely. Which Juve player for you has the most forgettable career in the club's history? Could be good or bad.
I saw that question earlier, so I got ready for it. I mean, one name popped into my head immediately, and that's Andrade. Jorge Gomez Andrade, who came in 2007 summer before the Serie A season. The reason I'm picking him is he came in July, I believe, got injured on the 23rd of September, so very early in the season. Broke his patella, I don't know what it is, and was ruled out for the rest of the season. Then in preseason afterwards, the year afterwards, he got injured again, the same injury. And in that year, he had 3 major left knee surgeries, and that was the 4th of his career entirely, and he was ruled out for that season as well. Eventually, Juve canceled his contract, and that was about it. That's all she wrote, for his career. And he was a decent player. He had like 40 caps for Portugal. He wasn't that bad. Just had like 2 months of being an actual Juve player, and the rest was nothing. He was injured for the rest of his career.
There you go, Jorge Andrade getting a few shouts there in the chat. Mas, most forgettable Juve career for you?
There's been so many. Jeez, who do you pinpoint? You know what? The first name that popped into my head was Ramsey, just because it was a shit show from start to finish.
But he did have a goal against Inter. But he did have some goals, and he had some moments, like very forgettable. I mean, someone who just
overall,
wasn't there. Yeah.
He came over with an injury history, right? So it was just comical from beginning to end, right? So that's the first one in there. I always Amaro is another one that comes into my head. Diego, Krasic, that era there was
Anelka, Bentner, list goes
Lump
on
them
and
all
on.
Yeah.
I gotta go with Marco Piazza, man. Marco Piazza is totally forgettable because it's just like what we spent 30 something odd million on this guy, and he was like, he was showing up for summers, and people are like, who is this guy? And it's like, that's the youngster you spent 30 plus million on that can't fucking stay healthy or do anything. It's Piazza for me, man.
Back again. Marco's back every summer,
The fucking moose.
Yeah.
Marco
but
Piazza.
I feel like they've been anything but forgettable. I mean, we keep bringing him up as one of the worst transfers ever, so not forgettable.
Fuck.
And you could put Arthur up there too, right? And the guy's still with the team, unfortunately. So.
Anything but forgettable.
Yeah.
I remember
Pogba's second stint is a great shout. That's a great shout. Definitely forgettable. I mean, it didn't even fucking happen. Like, it essentially didn't even happen. So that is forgettable, 100%. That's a good shout. Which former player was initially overlooked, doubled, but became a club legend? And who from the current squad, despite not being highly rated now, has the best chance of achieving a similar legacy? Great Storm the Barn. I love this one.
Mm-hmm. Okay, overlooked or doubted. I think
so. Who was overlooked and doubted that became a club like legend? And it might be hard to find legend status in there, but you could maybe find like a cult legend, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Bonucci kind of comes to mind. His first season was awful. I definitely didn't think he reached the heights he did reach eventually. But Paduin, maybe, kind of a cold hero, although it was never something special. He's kind of a semi joke for Juve fans, mainly because we won in those years. So it's easy to look at those players and say, yeah, they were part of that team. But it was favorable among a lot of fans. So, yeah, yeah, I
Huh.
think Paduin is my answer.
Yeah, there's shouts for Barzali.
I was just gonna say
Um,
that. Yeah.
Barzali was so cheap and nobody really
Look, I
put
had
much
total
to it.
faith in him. I had total faith in him. I used to buy him on what's it like what's the name, Football Manager, when he played for Palermo every year. He won the Bundesliga with
But to
Wolfsburg.
the
I mean,
degree of being considered in people's all-time 11 for Juve,
yeah,
that
considering the
kind of
age, the
faith,
price, I had faith he'll
Well,
be good.
yeah, faith
there's
in
some
being
people
good, but
Yeah,
like
yeah,
all-time 11
legend. No,
good? No,
no.
there's some
come on.
people that rank him above Bonucci and
Yeah,
Chiellini in the
I
BBC.
know.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
I
So to
would rank
say
him
that
he
above
was
we
he was
Bonucci.
he was
expected
a
Yeah.
that
player,
from
but
there, Bardza's like high up there.
yeah.
Mandzukic is a decent shout too, man. To be honest, because yeah, Manzu's a good shout, but it's got to be Barzali, man. Like for
Yeah.
what it turned out to be, for how much it was coming in and how much hype was actually around him, which was little. Um, it's hard. It's hard to not pick him. And out of guys that are on the current roster that could replicate something like that, who would you pick?
I don't think we're gonna keep him, but if we did, I could see Renato Vega being that guy on the back line.
Really, eh?
To be
Wow.
honest, yep, yep. I love what he's brought so far. I love his passion. I mean, he hasn't blown me away, but I think he's been a solid addition. Um, I just love everything about him. To be honest, I think the way he approaches the game. I think his celebrations. Some people kind of think he's a little over the top, but in terms of becoming a future leader, potentially a future captain, even, I would say Vega. But I don't think we're going to keep him, so it's a bit of a moot point, to be honest.
I want to side with Jet here on the previous question. I think Pirlo is the correct answer. Considering the age, price, it seemed like he was done, and in 3 years, he became a cult hero, a Juve legend.
Oh
No,
my
name it
God,
however
I
you
I
want.
don't
Pirlo.
think why because
I,
Milan fans were
yeah,
saying he was done.
yeah,
Come on, no,
yeah,
we didn't think he was done.
yeah. I didn't think he'll
The
completely
guy's a
change the entire
phenomenal
narrative of the
player,
league.
man.
Yeah, but he changed the entire league.
Yeah, of course. And he won
I
three
didn't think it would be
straight
too bad.
MVPs of the league. But I mean,
Yeah.
he was fantastic coming in. He was just old. But
Hmm.
to what he
No,
did wasn't like,
he had a season when he was benched for Milan by Allegri, and yeah, I
I
didn't
don't.
expect him to be as good as he was considering his age and where Juve were coming off a seventh place finish.
There's
I
too
didn't
much
expect him to
unknown
change it
with
too easily.
Barza. There's too much unknown with Barza. You had a good player, but like Pirlo was like a
Hmm.
great player. A
Yeah, he
great
was
player.
already he was already
It
established
was
coming
more
over, right?
circumstances there than anything.
I think it's Pirlo. I didn't expect him to be that good, like to completely change the league on its head. And the second part of the question, I think McKennie will be remembered fondly, kind of like Momo Sissoko. Even though he played in a bad time, we do remember him fondly. I think McKennie is going to be the guy who, not maybe not a cult legend to any degree, but still a likable character from a bad time.
Yeah.
The way I see McKenny, it's funny. I still see us potentially turning around and selling him at some point, just because his value is so high now. I don't think he'll be here long enough to classify him as a legend, to be honest.
It's hard. If I'm talking about um, guys that I think could do it, like Luca could do it, but he had high expectations when he came in, and we signed him for like 40, so it doesn't really qualify. Gatti is a guy that came out of nowhere. I'd say maybe him if he keeps improving. If he keeps improving, like I'm just gonna throw Gatti out there. Maybe, maybe. It's a tough one though. It's a tough one.
Yeah.
If we win the Scudetto, it will be our greatest ever. Have we? Okay, so I'm gonna ask a question around this. When has there been a Scudetto where fans, for the majority of that season, were like, "Get this guy out of here at the coaching position"? I know that there was some hate around Allegri first coming in, and nobody wanting him or anything. But as the results, as the season was going on, like, can you think of a season where you're, February, late February, and this much of the fan base is like, get him out? Because a lot are still like, get him out.
Honestly, no.
I know, I can't.
No.
I can't think of
No.
a Scudetto winning year where you're late February and a big chunk of your fan base is like, I don't know about this friggin' guy.
Look, I haven't been alive as much as Juve have Scudettos, so I probably haven't seen most of them. I haven't seen most of them, not probably. So from the ones I've seen, I don't remember any incident like that.
And to Gio's point, that's exactly why this would be the greatest ever. Changing that narrative, changing the tune. For all the shit that we've gone through, it would be absolutely insane.
I called it a miracle earlier. I stand by it.
It would be crazy. It would be crazy. Stranger things have happened. It is only 8 points. You've got a favorable schedule. I mean, I'm not going to say flat out no, but if you ask me on confidence, you take it. And obviously, we go back to Cinque Maggio. But remember that those scumbags, the filthiest club in the world, are actually in top right now. So it would still come, and it would still be a teabag on them. All right? So I would love this one almost more because it's so unexpected and just you're not even battling there. You're coming out of nowhere to just do it and dunk on them.
With a former player as our coach,
Yeah, with
that would be nice.
Former player as our coach. And again, even in our darkest hour, take 4 out of 6 points for them this season, giving them the day, and then coming out of nowhere, winning it. Give me a break. This would be epic. But again,
I
dreaming is
can
free.
guarantee no
Not gonna get. Forza Inter's in here. Oh yeah. Don't worry about it. 4 points out of 6, even when we're in shambles. Wait till we get it right. You're gonna need a new lawsuit. A fanculo. Good morning, by the way. Drop a like. Now, we keep it rolling. Mas, you've seen a lot. Would this be the best one ever if they pulled it out? Obviously, we're just...
In terms of story, yeah, I think
Yeah.
it would, right? There's so many different storylines that we've had to kind of go through this season, right? So
Yeah. Look at this scenario. Thomas chose violence this morning. We win the Scudetto, but Inter wins Champions League. Do you immediately revoke that Scudetto?
No, absolutely not. I'll take any Scudetto, especially with the teams we have. Inter can win the Champions League for all I care if we win the Scudetto. I don't mind it. I feel petty for giving up a title just so they don't win one. I don't care about them.
It's simple for me. We win the Scudetto and they won't win Champions League anyways. So yeah, bring me that trophy. By the way, anyone knows... Oh, so the chaos after the game, something to do with, and I saw it going down. At first I thought it was Weah and McKennie going after it. Then it became Gatti actually going at it with Weah and upset with something that he had did that ultimately led maybe to McKennie being in this awkward position that got hurt. I think it's a big, just nothing, and they'll settle it. It'll be fine. That's all it was. It was something between Weah and Gatti.
Yeah, they said today it's something about the foul on McKennie, and then Gatti said something to Weah, which annoyed him. But from my perspective, don't be children. It's okay to argue. I mean, look what happened with Gasparini and then Lukman. And just a few days afterwards, he starts in the match, scores a brace. You want to win a Scudetto, you got to let those things just fly by and not talk about them anymore. Don't be children. Don't hang on that. It's okay to argue. Leave it behind you. Move forward.
And it's going to happen all the time. All the time.
Yeah.
Shit like that happens all the time. Sal coming in here. Is the silver lining to Bremer getting injured that W? What?
He tried it again. It's not the full question.
Yeah, I was like, what? There we go. Oh, okay. Getting injured that Motta's weaknesses aren't being hidden. I hate the idea of 5 years of watching a stubborn coach not change. Ooh, is the silver lining to Bremer getting injured? Is there a silver lining to Bremer getting injured? Motta's weaknesses
The
aren't
fact that
being
we're going
hidden.
to keep him probably.
I'm going to be quite honest. It really depends on how you look at it, because when you pull up a stat line like us having the best defense in the league, tied for Napoli without Bremer, and we talk about how many guys have come and gone, and Gatti's been the only consistent one, and you've got also like younger guys like Savona having to play like left and right. Is it a weakness or is it incredible what he's done? Depends how you look at it.
Yeah, you can spin it both ways.
Yeah.
But I do think we're higher in the table if Bremer is not having that horrible
Absolutely.
injury early on. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but
I
on
would
the
have
flip
to
side,
say
though,
you don't have 17 points lost from winning positions with Bremer in the fold.
I don't think we would have maintained that pace at the beginning of the year, though. I mean, we were dominant defensively too, right? So at some point, it would have leveled off.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if it would have dropped off to that degree, though. Like, you don't think we would have had an extra 8 points with Bremer around up until this point?
Fair. Yeah.
I kind of feel like we would have, right? Even with the drop off and conceding some of the goals and stuff, because, yeah, we wouldn't have been perfect by any means. There's more than one flaw, but Bremer's big. So it just depends on how we all look at it. My biggest thing with this team is they actually held it down quite well for a while. It was the offense, right? And as time went on, more things opened up. This inconsistency with attitude and approach and energy. And even in this win yesterday, like I said, Vlahovic kind of laid it all out on the line. We got to get some things right. We got to learn to kill off games, and we got to stop suffering. But the guys need to be clinical up top. They all need to make better decisions, and they need to work together a lot better. But that was good yesterday. I felt like they actually did work together quite well. All the guys up top. Kolo, Vlahovic, Chico, Yildiz. I thought they worked well together. We're looking for each other. Like I said, I pointed to Chico actually actively having his head up. But the thing is that's frustrating is it's late February. So now you've got a shorter window to show us what you got and try and change that narrative. It could still happen, but let's see. Matt says, Gattoni leading the joint best defense in the league with a rotating door of partners every other week, and people still doubt him. How do Gatti doubters even? So how do they even persist with this Gatti doubt? There's still a lot of errors in there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's still a lot of errors, and he makes me sketched out at times on the ball. Sometimes it's a little much, but I love the guy, and I'll take guys like that with that attitude and that work rate and that drive. I'll deal with some mistakes here and there for that. I think overall for the good, he's got something that we don't have enough of in the team. That's all I'm going to say with him. Mas?
Yeah,
Omer?
I gave him his flowers early in the show. I
Yeah.
took him for man of the match and mentioned all those stuff, so I don't have anything to add. Basically, he should be valued for what he has been able to contribute and for staying healthy mainly throughout the season. Because without him, we're not the best defense in the league.
Yeah. Mas?
Yeah, I think Aldo just
You're
nailed
not
it
a
in the
doubter?
chat. I think he's a good depth player. I don't think he's a starting center back, to be honest. Unfortunately, he's in a situation now where he's been put in situations that he has to be starting. You need players like that on the team. I love his passion. I love what he brings, but I don't think he should be starting every game. But unfortunately, we don't have a choice, right? So,
Yeah.
it's what it is.
Do you guys have a storm the barn before we get set to sign off here? Omer, do you have one? Mas, do you have one that, or maybe something we haven't touched on?
Not anything specific. There's just something that's super annoying to me when we play. Is like they have this tendency to drag the ball all the way to the line and then make the back pass, the cutback pass, and they're doing it all game long. Both Fieldies and Conceição and Bangula, they're going all the way to the line, and then like no one is ready for the cutback pass because they're doing the exact same thing all the time, and it infuriates me because it's a very tough angle to deliver a good pass from. No one is ready for it. Everyone is always crowded inside a lot of defenders. That's something I don't know if it's a Motta instruction or just their tendency to do that, but it infuriates me a lot during matches.
So Omer's got to grind my gears. That's Omer's grind my gears. You know what grinds my
Yeah,
gears? How many times
yeah.
we go all the way back to the fucking keeper when we're right
Oh,
at the final third. That's what grinds my gears about our friggin' game. Mas, you got to
yeah.
grind my gears?
Not so much a grind my gears, but when we were talking about Moto earlier, I wanted to say like it's clearly in that Cagliari game, Nicola made some adjustments at half that we weren't able to adapt to. So it's a Motta issue where he's not able to adapt to what another team is doing, right? We dominated the first half. We came out in the second. Cagliari made changes, and we looked dead in the water, right? We're coming off a coach in Allegri who had the same problem. He wasn't able to adapt. He was very rigid, right? So are we with Allegri part 2 now where, you know, Motta's game plan is what it is and he's got nothing else in his pocket?
I
It's
think there's a
worrisome.
lot of I think there's a lot of effects of players missing because like when Cambiaso plays, then suddenly there's some sort of a diamond in midfield because he joins the midfielders and then they create this trio with McKennie or Coop Miners, whoever it may be, above them. But when he's out, you are not doing that
Yeah.
in any way, and that affects the game a lot because the guys who are replacing him on the left side are not aiding the attack at all. It's not Kelly and not Savona right now, and definitely not Rui.
Yeah.
So I think his tactics is super based around specific players doing specific things, and that's where I agree. It's a bit rigid, it's a bit predictable, and you're kind of trapping yourself when you don't have those guys because we don't have like a plan B. That's how I feel. We don't have a plan B to that tactics.
Two
Yesterday we had that tactic and it worked. We got into our positions. We got our chances.
I just think it comes down to roles. I think all along my biggest frustration with Motta is that I think he's got the wrong guys trying to operate in the wrong roles for them. In terms of adapting on the fly, I don't think there's anything there because if you don't know what the other club is gonna do at half coming out, so there's a little bit of this element that you have to do it on the fly, and a lot of that comes to just a coach being on the sideline, making a comment to some players, and then them taking it the rest of the distance. There's probably a significant gap there as well in trying to execute that. I don't know what it is, but yeah, we just got work to do. But one game at a time. Let's see. We got that one. We got Empoli for Coppa Italia midweek. Obviously, I'll bring you the news leading up to that. We're gonna get a match day live going for that one as well, and then back to Serie A action after that one. Had a lot of fun here, Mas. Absolute pleasure having you join us. All right, was a
Thank you, guys.
blast. We'll have to do it again. I
For
think
sure.
we might have to have another just kind of fun storm the bar maybe for Mas. He's been around, obviously following the club for a long time. What's your all-time Juve 11 side of all the players you've seen?
Oh, you're going to put me on the spot here. I
I'm
need
gonna
some time
put you
for
on the
that one.
spot. I mean, I
Oh,
think
jeez.
goalkeeper will be pretty clear.
Yeah, yeah. Gigi.
Let's narrow the options. One from every nationality.
Oh, my God.
Easy, easy.
Uh, let's see. Yeah, you guys got to give me some time on this one, man. There's too many players to. There's
I
some
feel
some
like
easy ones that I'd put in there for
I
sure.
can
Like I'd put
almost
Baggio in
rattle off
there.
mine like immediately.
I think I've been asked that questions 100 times in the show, and I think I gave a different answer every time.
I got Buffon. I got Zambrotta. I got Chiellini and actually Ferrara. And then I have, and I leave Montero out. I leave Cannavaro out. But those guys, I have Lilian Thuram. So I have Thuram on the right. I have Zambrotta on the left. I've got in my midfield. This is usually where I get some changes because it's hard for me to leave Pirlo out. But I will never leave Edgar Davids out of my midfield, and I will never take Zizou out of my midfield and Pavel Nedved. So they go in there, and then up top, I will definitely have one of my favorite pairings ever in Trezeguet and Del Piero, and then I put Robbie Baggio there behind. So it's like a 4-3-1-2, and that's mine.
I'm not far from there, but I didn't get to watch Baggio for Juve. I watched them for other clubs.
Yeah.
But not so much for Juve. So, yeah, Buffon, central pairing, Chiellini and Barzali. I would leave Zambrotta out. I'd go Thuram on the right with Lichtsteiner close second. And, sorry, who was on the left? I'll get back to it. I can't remember. And David, Zidane, and Pirlo have to be there. Let's say Nedved, Del Piero, Tevez, and hard for me to keep Ronaldo out, so it's either Ronaldo or Trezeguet.
Well, you're done.
Trezeguet.
No, you don't have room for him.
The hard thing about these...
I had three in midfield.
Yeah, and I was missing the left back. You said Del Piero, Tevez, Nedved.
Oh, yeah, so that seals it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Do you include players that only you've seen? Or
only you've seen. Only we've seen is what we did, yeah.
So mine would not be very far off from your guys, to be honest. Potentially a switch with Davids, although I don't know who I would put in there. But Zizou is my guy. I would never pull him for anything. He would have to be there 100%. Yeah, no, that's very, very similar, I would say.
There you go. There you go. Always a fun one. Always like hearing everybody's answer. Platini for sure. I did not watch Platini.
That's the thing.
Old,
like
you guys, but come on.
Yeah.
Come on. I'm
old.
Well,
I'm older, and I didn't watch him either, right? So,
yeah.
Like you can make an argument that he should be in that mid, right? So. But.
Oh yeah, like I'm sure if I seen him, a guy that won 3 straight Ballon d'Ors, led us to a European title, there would definitely be in the mix for sure. Mm-hmm. But yeah, just wasn't quite there for me. All right, time wise. But you guys had a lot of fun. Again, we'll be with you every day with the news updates leading into the Copa Italia match against Empoli. Hopefully, we gain that advancement in that tournament. Like I said, the bracket's sitting pretty. For Scudetto, guys, you could dream. Do whatever you please, all right? You could dream. But let's just take it one game at a time, all right? Just let's pump the brakes. Let's take it easy and let's see. It's up for them to prove to us. And if Juve wants to change the narrative, can they? Of course they can. Of course they can. But it's up to them, all right? They want us to believe. They got to show us. Let's see what happens. And we're going to be there the entire way, along the way, the rest of the season. Let's go, everybody. Fino alla fine. Forza Juventus. Ciao tutti. Take care.